For years I tried to fix my output with better system, better calendars, better to-do lists, time blocking, color coding, and every app that promised this one would finally be the one that stuck. And from years of working across different industries, I can tell you exactly how well that worked. It didn't, because I was scheduling the hardest thinking of my life into the worst hours of my day, and no calendar on earth can fix that. So before you touch another system, do this. For the next 2 weeks, 3 times a day, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, and early evening, score your energy out of 10. Not your mood, not how much you got done, just one question. How sharp does my brain feel right now? 1 to 10. Put it in the note on your phone. It takes 4 seconds, 3 numbers a day, 14 days, 42 data points. That is the 2-week energy audit, and it is the single most useful thing I've ever done for my productivity. Because here's what happened. After about 10 days, a shape starts to appear. Most people find a window of 2 to 4 hours where they are consistently a 7, 8, or a 9. They find a stretch where they are consistently a 3 or a 4, and they find a second smaller lift later in the day. That shape is yours. It is remarkably stable, and almost nobody knows their own, because nobody has ever actually measured it. 2 week matters. Do 1 week and you will mistake a bad Tuesday for a pattern. Do 2 and the noise averages out and the signal shows up. And you do not need an app for this. 3 numbers a day in a note is generally enough. If you want to be slightly fancier, write 1 word next to each number for what you are doing. That is where it gets interesting, because you start seeing which hours you are burning on what. Now here is why that shape matters more than any system you have ever tried. Every time management method ever invented makes the same silent assumption that an hour is an hour, that the 9 a.m. hour and the 3 p.m. hour are actually the same, interchangeable, and that the only question worth asking is what you put in each box. That is the bug. Your calendar treats time like currency, same value, every unit, perfectly fungible. Your brain treats time like weather. An hour at your peak might be worth 3 or 4 hours in your trough. Same 60 minutes on the clock, wildly different output coming out of the other end. Which means the question was never, how do I find more hours? Most people do not have a time problem. They have an allocation problem. You already have the hours. You are spending your best ones on your worst work. And that is why better systems never fixed it for me. A perfect calendar full of misallocated hours is still a calendar full of misallocated hours. You can optimize the container all you like. You were never fixing the thing that was actually broken. So tool 2, find your chronotype honestly. Here's the test. On a free week, no alarm, no early meeting, nowhere to be, what time do you naturally wake up, and what time do you naturally get sleepy? That is it. That is the tell. Not what time you set your alarm for, not what time you wish you woke up. What your body does when you stop arguing with it. Wake naturally around 6, sleepy by 10, you lean towards morning. Naturally wake around 9 or 10, sharpest at night, and mornings feel like wading through wet sand, you lean towards evening. Most people sit somewhere in the middle with the lean one way, and the lean is enough to work with. There is an entire genre of advice built on the idea that morning people are virtuous and everybody else is lazy. So people who are naturally wired for late energy spend years forcing 5 a.m., feeling broken by Wednesday and blaming their own discipline for it. Your chronotype is not a character trail. It is largely biological. It shifts with age, and it is not a moral position. Teenagers run late, older adults drift earlier. That is not laziness. That is development, and you cannot really argue your way out of it. You can drag your schedule an hour or so in either direction with light and routine, but you're not going to turn a hard evening type into a 5 a.m. person by wanting it badly enough. People try for years. It mostly just makes them tired and slightly ashamed. The honest answer is the useful one. The aspirational answer just gets you a beautiful system built for somebody who does not exist, and then you blame yourself when that person does not show up for work. Right, the payoff. Tool 3, match the task to the energy. Take your list and sort every single thing on it into one of 3 buckets. Bucket 1, hard cognitive work, strategy, writing, difficult decision, learning something new, the conversation you have been avoiding, anything where the quality of your thinking is the product. That goes in your peak, all of it. That is what the peak is for. Bucket 2, low cognitive work, email, admin, expenses, invoicing, filing, scheduling. The mechanical stuff that has to happen but does not need you at your best. That goes in your trough. Deliberately, on purpose. Bucket 3, maintenance and lighter work. Meetings that are not decisions, planning, reviewing, tidying up, catch-up call. That goes in your recovery window, the second lift later in the day. That is the entire system. 3 buckets, 3 windows, matched. You can do it on paper in about 10 minutes. And the reason this works when nothing else did is that it's not asking you for more discipline, more hours or more willpower. You are moving the same work into different slots. It costs you nothing. You do the same tasks in the same day, in the same week. You just stop doing them at the stupidest possible time. The first week I ran this properly, I did not work fewer hours. I just stopped fighting my own biology for 8 of them. Same day, same list, completely different output. Quick thing, if you're going to try that, that is the whole point of this channel. One life skill, properly broken down every week. Hit subscribe and the next one finds you. Now let me be straight with you about the evidence, because this is where most videos on this topic start lying to you. The effect I have been describing has a name in the research. It is called the synchrony effect. The finding is that people perform better on demanding cognitive tasks when the time of day matches their chronotype. Morning types in the morning, evening types in the late afternoon and evening. A 2025 systematic review in the journal Chronobiology International pulls that whole literature together. And here is the honest version, which matters a lot more than the hype. The effect is real, but it is modest. It is not a magic switch that doubles your output, and anybody selling you a specific percentage boost is making it up. It is also task specific. It shows up mainly on the harder, more complex work. Attention, working memory, fluid intelligence, verbal fluency. On easy or routine tasks, it largely washes out, which, if you think about it, is exactly why the tool is hard work at peak. Admin is the trough, and not everything is better at peak. Everything is not better at peak. The advantage only exists where the work is hard enough to need it. Here is the finding that surprised me the most. Across that review, more than 80% of the studies found no main effect of chronotype on its own. Being an evening type does not make you smarter. Being a morning type does not make you sharper. Chronotype on its own predicts very little. What matters is the interaction. Chronotype times time of day. It is not who you are. It is when you are doing it. One asymmetry worth knowing: morning types appear to cope better at their off-peak times than evening types do at theirs. So if you are an evening type being marched through a 7 a.m. strategy meeting, the cost you are paying is real, and is probably higher than the cost your early bird colleagues pays at 4 in the afternoon. You will also hear the phrase biology prime time thrown around a lot. That is a popular label coined by the writer Chris Bailey. It is generally good handle for the idea, and I use it, but it is not a scientific term. The science underneath it is circadian rhythm and chronotype research. Use the phrase, just do not mistake it for a citation. So modest, task specific, and it is the interaction that counts. That is the truth. And it is still absolutely worth reorganizing your week around, because a modest edge on your hardest work applied every day for 10 years is not a modest outcome. Which brings me to tool 4. And honestly, this one is the whole game: defend the peak. Open your calendar right now and block your peak window as a recurring event every working day, and give it a name that is not focus time, because people book straight over focus time. Give it a name that looks like a commitment to somebody scanning your availability. Because here is the cruel joke at the center of all this. Your peak hours are the most valuable asset you own, and they are exactly the hours everybody else want. Mid-morning is when meetings get scheduled. It is when your calendar looks open. It is when people are online and responsive and keen. So you sell your best 2 hours for a status update, and then at 4 in the afternoon, running on fumes, you sit down to do the thinking that actually mattered, and wonder why it took 3 hours and came out mediocre. Nobody steals your peak, you give it away. Every time you say, yay, 10 a.m. works, You are selling your sharpest thinking for the price of being agreeable. So protect it like a client meeting, because it is worth more than most client meetings. And defend it out loud. I cannot do mornings. How is 2 p.m.? That is a complete sentence, and nobody has ever died from hearing. Be realistic about it though. Some days it gets taken and there is nothing you can do. If you hold the line 4 days out of 5, you've won. Perfection is not the target here. You are just trying to break the default, and the default is giving it away every single day without ever noticing you did. This is the through line under everything in this video. The audit finds the P. The chronotype explains the P. Matching fills the P. And none of it survives contact with a real working week unless you defend it. Tool 5, design the trough instead of fighting it. Take the 20 most annoying low value jobs on your list, the inbox, the expenses, the forms, the filing, the rescheduling, and park them deliberately in the hours you scored a 3. Because here is the reframe, that post-lunch dip is not a character flaw. It is not the sandwich. It is a normal feature of the human circadian rhythm, and it turns up whether you have earned it or not. And what does everybody do with it? They fight it. Third coffee, push through. Try to force strategic thinking through a brain running at 44%. Produce something mediocre and then feel guilty about the entire afternoon. Stop. The trough is not a failure. It is a slot. It has a job. Give it the job. It is good, and it stops being the worst part of your day. And it is actually a good slot. Low cognitive work does not need a sharp brain. It needs a body in a chair and a list. Your dip brain is perfectly qualified to clear an inbox, and you will often do it fast because you're not sitting there resenting it and wishing you were doing something more interesting. There is a bonus in there too. Some research suggests we are slightly more creative and a bit more open at our off-peak time. The mental filter loosens up, so the trough is not a bad window for loose, exploratory, low-stakes thinking. Just do not hand it to your hardest decision. And once the trough has a job, something else happens that nobody warns you about. You stop feeling bad about it. Half the exhaustion people feel in the afternoon is not the dip itself, it is the guilt about the dip. Tool 6, and this is the one that makes the other 5 possible. Recovery is an input, not a reward. Schedule your sleep window and one real break inside your trough with exactly the same seriousness you would schedule a meeting. Put them in before the work goes in the calendar, not in whatever is left over afterward, because we have the logic backward. We treat rest as the prize for finishing the work. Earn it first, then take it. But energy is not something you have, it is something you generate. And sleep and breaks are the machinery that generates it. Sleep is not the reward for a good day's work. It is the raw material for tomorrow. Cut recovery and there is no peak to protect. There is just a flat line with a slow downward slope and a scale. That flat line is exactly what the data is now showing. Mercer's Global Talent Trends 2026 report, built on responses from nearly 12,000 C-suite executives, HR leaders, investors and employees worldwide. They found that 82% of employees are at risk of burnout. 82%, and only 44% report thriving at work. That is down from 66% in 2024. Read that one twice. Fewer people are thriving at work right now than during the pandemic. It is showing up in what people say publicly too. Glassdoor found that burnout mentions in reviews were up 65% year on year in the first quarter of 2026, and that they now appear 2.5 times more often than they did pre-pandemic in 2019. Workers who mention burnout are 81% less likely to rate their work-life balance positive. And here is the part that tells you nothing is coming to save you. Mercer found that fewer than half of employers have redesigned work and well-being in mind. Fewer than half. So the mismatch is structural. It is getting worse, and the fix is not arriving from above, which is exactly why this is worth doing yourself. You probably cannot redesign your company. Nobody is handing you a 4-day week or a protected mornings policy, but you can absolutely redesign your own day, and you can start on a Monday without anyone's permission. And that is the whole thing. The same work, the same hours in a different order. So start the order today. 3 numbers, mid-morning, mid-afternoon, evening, in a note on your phone for 14 days. Do that and everything else in this video has something to attach itself. Skip it and you're just guessing about your own biology, which is what you have been doing all along. Then on day 15, look for the shape and do exactly one thing. Move your single most important recurring task into your best window, not your whole week, not a grand redesign, one task. Because a system you half implement on a Monday is dead by Thursday, and one task landing in the right slot will teach you more in a fortnight than any framework could hand you. And if in 6 weeks that one task is still sitting in the right window, you have already beaten every calendar app I ever bought. The people I have watched do generally good work over the long run across every country and every industry I've worked in were never the ones with the cleverest system. They were the ones who knew when they were sharp and were ruthless about not wasting it. So stop managing your time. You have got the same 24 hours as everyone else and you are never getting more. Manage your energy. That is the part that is actually yours. And if you want one of these every week, subscribe. On this channel, I break down one life skill every week so you can build a better life. One conversation, one habit, one system at a time. That's what this channel is about. Life, knowledge, productivity. Thanks for watching.